great pleasure and honor to introduce Captain Harsch, Royal Canadian Navy retired, who is from the Navy League of Canada, the Honourary MSC16 chair. Harry, please.
Ambassadors, Senators, Admiral Swift, Admirals, Generals, Attachés, valued sponsors, ladies and gentlemen from around the world. On behalf of David Yates, the President of the Navy League of Canada, and in fact all of us in the Navy League of Canada, I would like to welcome you to Maritime Security Challenges 2016. It is a great honor for me to be asked to open this conference today in the company of such distinguished speakers and delegates. You know, something else to scratch off the old bucket list, and clearly something that I would have missed given this opportunity. I feel the need to start out by shamelessly plugging the Navy League of Canada. And it's an interesting organization that I'm extraordinarily proud to be part of. It was established in 1895 with an objective to promote an interest in maritime affairs in Canada. In fact, it was one of the key voices that led to the creation of Canada's Navy in 1910. Today, the Navy League of Canada's primary focus is its two cadet programs, which benefit approximately 12,000 young Canadians in about 250 some odd communities across this great nation. We also maintain our maritime affairs mandate to promote Canada's maritime interests, which is why we are delighted to be a partner in the MSC series of conferences, and that's, I think, why I'm here today. But I welcome you not only as the Vice President of Maritime Affairs, but also as a retired RCN captain who spent many years living and breathing many aspects, pretty much most aspects of maritime security over my career, starting as a junior officer during the Cold War and ending as a ship's captain in the equally unfriendly but much more complicated world that we live in today. Mind you, when I was showing the Navy League staff the script for this morning, they said, "Cold War, didn't you mean Civil War?" I said, "No, that was Matillion." Anyways, the advantage of being an old retired guy is that, I suppose, is that one can look back and see the similarities and differences that have defined us over the decades. Something I'm certain the old retired guys also noted back in 1976 when I was just starting out in this business as an officer cadet. But in fairness, the one thing that hasn't changed is the important role navies and all related aspects of maritime security play in meeting those challenges. Canada is bounded by 3 oceans with the world's largest coastline, and as a trading nation, I think it's fair to say that we depend on the oceans. That means that Canada is by definition a maritime nation, although it seems few understand that. And in fact, what that means in terms of commitment. Sadly, my experience abroad shows that we are not the only nation that is suffering from what is termed sea blindness. The potential challenges to national security that exist as a result of that dependence are complex. And it is national security I'm talking about, not simply maritime security. Regardless of how we look at it, maritime security matters, and it is a challenge. In fact, it matters a lot, which is why we are gathered here this week. As an aside, when I flew in from Ottawa on Sunday, the plane passed over Vancouver Harbour in English Bay. If anyone doesn't appreciate the strategic importance of the maritime domain, you only had to look out the window to see the number of merchant ships in the harbor, at anchor in the harbor, and at anchor in the approaches. It was astonishing. It even surprised me, who spent a lot of years out here in ships around that particular area. With that in mind, I'm certain that this conference will lead to a better understanding of how we all share in these challenges. Our business is maritime security, a responsibility that has become more and more demanding as navies grow, rivalries develop, marine resources are overtaxed, boundary disputes arise, and the integrity of merchant shipping is called into question by pirates, smugglers, and transnational criminals. Conclude, I want to say how much the Navy League of Canada values our partnership with the Maritime Security Challenges Conference, because it helps us to actualize our 120-year mandate related to maritime affairs, which today serves as a bridge between the Navy, the Coast Guard, government, industry, and others who have an interest in Canada's role as a maritime nation. Finally, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Jim Ret'd and his dedicated and amazing staff for once again putting on a fantastic conference. I had the privilege of watching Jim and his team put this event together from afar, and it is no small feat. And I thought the concept, by the way, of the day at sea in a modernized frigate serving as the conference icebreaker is pretty impressive by any measure. I think we all agree with that from yesterday. And the ship's company in Calgary certainly, clearly did not disappoint. I think it's also telling that Rear Admiral Art MacDonald and his fleet commander, Commodore Buckswick, spent the day with us. Thank you, Admiral, for that. And thank you for allowing us to spend the day on board Calgary. Finally, for those who might not have heard, about 10 days ago, I was at an event for the Canadian Defense, the Conference of Defense Associations Institute, where it was announced that Dr. Jim Ret'd has been selected as the 2016 Vimy Award winner. The Vimy Award. For those who don't know what the Vimy Award is, it was initiated 25 years ago by the Conference of Defense Associations Institute to recognize annually one Canadian who has made outstanding contributions to the security and defense of Canada and the preservation of our democratic values. And I've known Dr. B for many years, and I could not think of a more deserving recipient for this award. Thank you, and have a great conference.
Thank you so much, Captain Harsch, for those kind words. Let me turn now to an old and dear friend from Hawaii, Brigadier General Jim Hirai, U.S. Army retired, the Deputy Director of the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. And if any of you in the audience are not acquainted with the sterling work that APCSS does, I strongly recommend that you, in fact, engage General Hirai, because they are really at the tip of the spear in terms of educating a whole new generation of officers and others in terms of the important dynamics of the region.
Aloha. Well, on behalf of our Director, Lieutenant General, retired United States Air Force, Dan Fig-Leaf, and all of our staff and faculty back in Waikiki, we want to welcome all of you to the conference and tell you how proud we are to be partnered again with the Royal Canadian Navy, really in the form today of Art MacDonald, Jim Ret'd, as well as the Navy League of Canada, represented by Hirai, who you just heard open the conference. And I would say we're honored to be partnered because these two organizations are, in fact, in my view, both indispensable and dynamic. And for the APCSS team, we are happy that this is our third time being partnered for this particular conference. And since the last conference, the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center, for one, has been renamed for our late senior senator, Daniel K. Inouye. And the other milestone is we graduated our number 10,000 student, who happened to be from the and number 10,000, as he crossed the stage, happened to be a fellow, an officer in the Maritime Safety Agency of the People's Republic of China. And those 10,000 plus now are evidence of some of the work that we do. We also believe that this conference is both indispensable and dynamic. Indispensable because evidenced by your presence. Very busy, engaged professionals, to include our U.S. Pacific Fleet Commander, Admiral Swift, and many of his colleagues from the region, people from industry, government, and a special group that I want to mention is indicative of the dynamism of this particular conference. And this year, for the very first time, we, with our partners, initiated a program that's part of this called the Future Leaders Program. And in your program, there's a description of this particular innovation. And I would like to ask our future leader participants to please stand so you can be recognized by our crowd, please, if you would. So they came in early to Victoria and started work. And this is not a warning to you presenters, but they are going to, in fact, be grading your papers. One of their roles is to do a presentation on Thursday that really symbolizes that this is a dynamic subject that we have, this subject of maritime security challenges. And they're going to do a presentation that we hope continues to reflect the fact that this is an indispensable and dynamic set of conferences. Now, I would also say that we have a role in this conference that we're very, very proud of, and we just hope that we get asked to participate again in the future. So again, welcome to Victoria. We look forward to working with you this week. Aloha.